We'll hit the record. There it is. Got it. and then in the breakout rooms, just so you know, none of the rooms, not all the rooms will be recorded, but the one which Edwin is in will be recorded. So that you know that going in there. Okay, so welcome. And so this is the introduction and orientation to the Empathy Circle practice and the Empathy Circle Facilitator Training. My name is Bill Filler. I'm a retired special education teacher. I have been working with Edwin in the Empathy Circles, doing the trainings and out in the streets with the Empathy Tent for about 4 years. And the goal is to bring respectful and dialogue to the world. And, you know, the idea is that when you listen to someone without responding or giving judgments, there's more empathy in the world, and we'll have, you know, a much better society. The Empathy Circle is a gateway practice. It's a very simple practice, which then can be incorporated into other trainings and other things. And we want to train everyone, especially children, in order to listen to each other. I have a Empathy in Schools. I'm trying to get that. If you're interested in that, I'll give you my information in the chat. There will not be, it's usually on Thursdays, but there won't be one Thursday the 11th, but then on the 18th we'll start again. Anyway, I'll put that all in the chat when we're done. Edwin's going to share. We're going to go through the CAFI outline today, and then we'll go with that. And so Edwin, there we go. So this is the welcome. We'll do some introductions. Edwin will then talk about the training, maybe do some Q&A, and then we'll actually have an Empathy Circle practice. And then, show the how-to is the short video explaining how to do it. Then we'll do the Empathy Circle practice, and then we'll come back for a full group debrief. All right. And okay. Okay, so we are a fairly small group today, so I think we can go around and do introductions. And I'll start with the participants first.
Maybe just name, location, and why you're interested in the training in empathy.
Right, name, rank, and serial number. Okay, yes. Okay, so, all right, and let's see. Laura, could you introduce yourself a bit and tell us where you're from and why you're here?
Hi, I'm Laura. You want where we've moved around a lot, so you want me to rattle off all the places I'm from?
No, where are you calling from now?
Oh, okay. I'm in San Leandro, and you know, I want to do the Empathy Circle because I'm a retired psychologist, and I need to go back to work, and this is helpful. My specialty is drug addicts. And you'd think a psychologist would know a lot about empathy, but they don't teach you that in school. I went to a more Freudian school, and that does not help with dealing with people who have an addiction issue. So I'm here to learn more about active listening, really is. And I consider one of the elements to empathy is active listening.
Great. Well, thanks. Great to have you here. All right, Dwayne.
Good morning. My name is Dwayne Hearn. I'm living in Las Vegas, Nevada, most of the time. And I'm a retired government worker and currently doing volunteer work advising university-based community service fraternity at UNLV called Alpha Phi Omega. And I'd like to bring the practice of empathy circles to our organization. But I'm also, first and foremost, everything I do is about my own personal growth and development. So I want to learn how to be a better listener, be a better person for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jordan. Great to have you here. Vera.
Hi everyone, Vera Fair. I love this idea and practice of empathy circles and the whole idea of empathy as well. And so I'm always trying to learn how to become a better listener, and I think this will definitely help me with that. And I'm preparing to take the facilitator course, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Great, welcome.
And I'm in
Sarah,
Huntington Beach. Sorry.
Huntington Beach, all right, LA, all right. And Sarah.
So I'm Sarah. I'm in Seattle, and like Vera and Dwayne said, self-work is definitely a part of this. Also, I'm in grad school right now for museum studies, and I'm interested in bringing empathy, or like, I think empathy is already in museums, but like highlighting it more and using empathy to engage diverse communities.
Great, well, welcome. All right, and I'll apologize in advance for mispronouncing your name. Chitranga.
Chitrangda,
Da. Okay, thank you.
thank you. So I'm Chitrangda. I'm from India.
Mm.
And I have joined the Empathy Circle because I am a psychologist. I just recently started working with children. So I'm a child psychologist now and also a play therapist. So I know empathy is going to help me. Even I've been learning how to empathize with adults as well as children, but this is definitely going to help me in professional as well as personal life. So yeah, for personal growth as well.
Great, well, welcome. And Jeremy.
Thank you. I'm Jeremy. I'm currently located in Berkeley, California. And yeah, I'm really interested in the empathy circles because my older brother has Asperger's, and that's always been something I've kind of grown up being curious about, like theory of mind and empathy. And like some of you guys and like Laura, I want to become a clinical psychologist and improve my active listening skills, and like Dwayne, become just a better person overall. So that's my main goal. And then number two, I'm really interested in empathy around like climate change and like how we really don't express those kind of emotions often, or kind of, and I just want to like work on that. So I'm really happy to be here.
Great. Well, we work very closely with Extinction Rebellion. They've actually picked the Empathy Circle as one of their core practices as far as for team building. And if you go to Extinction Rebellion and the restorative culture, you'll find information about that. All right, and let's introduce the facilitators for today. Start with Gary.
Good morning. My name is Gary, and I'm from Portland, Oregon. And the reason why I'm here is because I'm wanting to keep practicing my facilitator so I can spread it out. And I work for a newspaper, so it helps me along my personal goals and my professional goals when I'm listening. You know, like the listening has to be good.
Yeah. By the way, this reflective listening is used in a lot of journalism. And so you'll see a lot of reporters. Ari Melber on MSNBC, if you watch him, he'll do a lot of reflective listening. Larry.
Hi, I'm Larry. I'm calling in from Florida, and I'm a retired occupational therapist. And I love the empathy circles. I'm amazed that such a relatively easy to learn process or technique can produce such a profound empathic experience in such a short time, and then repeated. As we all know, the neurons that fire together wire together. So this is a phenomenal gift to share with the humanity and with your own self, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And Linda?
Yes, Linda Bass. I'm from Keller, Texas, right outside of Fort Worth. I continue to come back to these empathy circles because I'm a mediator and arbitrator after 30-some years in insurance, property and casualty insurance. And I find this helps me professionally and personally. And the more I do it, the more it becomes easier and more natural.
Great. Thank you, Linda. And Edwin.
Yeah, Edwin Rutch from San Francisco Bay Area. And Yeah, I just find that the empathy circle is just the best first step gateway practice to learning and practicing empathy skills and sort of listening skills. So I just want to spread it to the whole world. Like, let's get 7 or 8 billion people to learn how to do this. And I think it'll just really contribute to well-being as, and it's doable. We can do it.
Great. And I believe right now I'll pass it on to Edwin and you'll do the course overview.
Yeah, great. Thanks. So I'm going to do a little screen share here of our website. This is just a quick overview of the training website for our Module 1 Empathy Circle Facilitation Training. So if you go to empathyscircle.com, it'll take you to the empathyscircle.com website, and there's the link to this site. We're using a Google site, a website for this, and has all the information about the 5-week training. So this is the Module 1, consists of 5 weeks, 2.5 sessions each. We meet once a week. And so I just created this, it's about 25-minute video tour. So usually we go through the website in some detail here, and now we have this video. So you can just go there, click on the video and take the tour. So this is going to be just very quick review of the website. So you scroll down, I'm just going to show the home page here. You scroll down, there's our vision, which is building a more empathic society. Our mission is to, as I was mentioning, train all 7 or 8 billion people to be able to take part in and facilitate empathy circles. This training is open source, so that means that we want anyone to be able to use it, learn how to use it, and help develop it. And there's also, it's free. It's by donation. You can donate to support the work. And as you see here, it says if you had to pay for this course, it'd easily be like $300 if you had to pay for it, but we do offer it free by donation. There's a link, where you can, chip in on PayPal or on a Facebook fundraiser. To take the training there's a prerequisite of taking part in at least 2 empathy circles, and this counts. Today counts as 1. And so if you take 1 more, then you'll be ready to sign up for the training. And there's just some links here to our event calendar where you can see the schedule for the different events, the different empathy cafes and circles that we host. And the time commitment is for the training is 5 sessions, 2.5 hours. As I mentioned, we meet once a week, and we also have empathy buddy calls. So you connect during the week for about half an hour with a fellow participant. And also you want to try to hold some empathy circles on your own, maybe with family and friends. So that might add an hour or so to the time commitment. And there's a few others. And so all these links you can just click through, and there's sort of more detail. So I don't want to go too much into the detail right now, so we can get into the circle as quickly as possible. The training path is, what that means is you can take the training as many times as you want. So the first you start with is a participant. You just sort of learn how to facilitate an empathy circle, and then you become a trainee. You can take it again several times to become a trainee and learn how to give this training, and then you become a trainer, and you can help actually present the training. And so we're trying to train people in how to sort of spread not only the empathy circle, but also this training. We do now offer certificates of completion. So that's important for a lot of people. I've heard, especially in the developing world, these certificates are important for if you're in a educational environment, they sort of value that, and for business. So you can click through and you'll find out more about that. And another thing we do is try to build a supportive community. So we have email lists and a social media community, and just a lot of resources to build a network of facilitators who can help each other out with facilitation and mutual support. We have our 2 cohorts that we're doing. The next one's the cohort 12 series always meets on Saturdays. So that cohort will start, the next cohort starts November 20th. and you can sign up for that. It's actually full, but we might take a few extra people in that cohort. Then there's another cohort, 13 always meets on Sundays. And so that will start January 3rd. So you can sign up for that. And if you have an organization that would like to do the training, that can bring together, 15, 20 people, we have trainers that we can set up a training cohort for you to help support you in doing the training. So we can add more cohorts. And you can just scroll down. Here's an outline of the curriculum. So you can just review that for the training. Each of the sessions is a little bit of an outline. You can click through and get sort of details. And there's course reference material. I won't go too much into that, just all the different things we cover. And there's all kinds of links to reference material. The empathycircle.com website, Culture of Empathy website is have about 300 interviews there with empathy experts from all over the world. Our empathy tent is a tent we take out to public spaces, and there's a bunch of material on that. So just a bunch of resources here that you can check out. But the main thing is to go into depth. You can just click on that video that was on the home page there, and that'll really give you an in-depth tour. So with that, is there any questions about the training?
So is the training 2.5 hours per week exactly, or is it
2.5 hours a week?
okay. Would there be possible if I had to leave like 15 minutes before the end of a training or something because of a class? Would that be
You
like,
could do that, because the last half hour we do a debrief, and so it would be doable, yeah, if you wanted to.
thank you.
And I know you're interested in bringing empathy circles to UC Berkeley. So if you can get a whole cohort of students who want to do it, we could set that up too. I always thought that it could be good for doing UC Berkeley students can create their own course, a decal they're called. I thought this would be a great decal for students to create. So anyway, yeah. So we're open to kind of creative ideas. Yeah, Dwayne, looks like.
Oh, no, I was just gonna quickly add, Jeremy, there's a chapter of my service fraternity, Alpha Omega at UC Berkeley. It's a really large chapter. You may want to connect with them and see if they're interested, because their focus is on providing service, not also on the community campus and in the country. So they may be open to that. Let me know if I can help.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, so I think most everyone knows how to do the empathy circle practice. So we usually show a video and do a fishbowl if it's a larger group, but I think we could skip that and just go directly into the empathy circles. So you just want to repeat that. Does that sound good with the facilitators? Okay. So I have created two circles. So the first one, Gary, do you feel ready to facilitate that one, Gary? And Linda, I'll be in that one too, but Linda's will be support. And the second one, I don't know, Dwayne, do you feel like you're ready to try to facilitate the circle? You want to try facilitating? You'll have Larry and Bill supporting you.
Yeah.
Is that a thumbs up? Yeah, give it a try. See how it works. So we're going to go into the circles. We're going to have about an hour and 15 minutes in the circle. And here we go. And let me put the topic in. So our topic is, why are you interested in empathy circles and the training, or whatever's alive for you? If there's just something going on in your life, if Jeremy, you want to talk about the environment, whatever's alive for you, feel comfortable to talk about that. So here we go. We're going to go into the rooms, and you have 5-minute turns to put that in there. So here we go. 1 second. Okay. Okay, you're up, Gary.
All right. How's everybody doing this morning?
Great.
Thank you.
All right. This is, of course, the Empathy Circle, and we have some small rules that we like you to follow. And it's three parts to the circle. There's the active listener, the silent listener, and the speaker. Of course, I'm going to be the first active listener, so I can give you a demonstration of how that goes. The speaker will speak about the question or what's live to him today. And the silent listener will just sit there silently listening. So, and this is a safe place to come. So don't be afraid to share, right? I'm still kind of half asleep, so you have to forgive me, but we're going to get this going. So who wants to be the first speaker?
Gary, how long do we speak?
Oh, 5 minutes. And you have 5 minutes to talk. And then the speaker will become the active listener. Okay? After that. And that's
So
how
how
it
will
goes
I know?
on.
Okay, how will I know when my 5 minutes is up?
I will flash this little red cup.
Okay, because I
The
talk a
red
lot.
cup.
Okay, thank you. Just trying to get some clarification.
So
Okay,
the red cup will let you know that your time is over.
yes, sir.
And I'm quite sure you hear the chime on the clock too. So there's two indicators.
Okay,
And is there any other questions? Is there any questions that you need to know? You can ask right now. And if not, we can get started. By who's going to be the first speaker? Okay, you go ahead, Linda. You know the topic question is why you want to become part of that empathy circle.
yes. And thank you, Gary. I want to speak on why I think empathy is important and why I keep coming back so I can get better at empathic listening.
You're saying that you come here because you want to get better at empathic listening, and that's your main focus on why you keep returning, because it gets easier.
Yes, and I want it to be natural. In today's climate, everybody seems to be so angry about everything.
In today's climate, it seems like everybody wants to be angry about everything.
Yes, and nobody is really listening in any way. We speak over each other and we argue back and forth and we challenge each other and we
Excuse me.
call names.
Can you pause for a minute? I forgot to mention, you want to give it in small bites so the active listener can take it in and give it back to you.
Okay.
So you're saying that, can you repeat that?
Yes, today's climate is so hostile. Everybody's angry. Nobody listens. And we tend to argue and challenge each other.
Today's climate, nobody's listening, nobody's talking. They just seem to want to challenge and fight today. And argue.
Yes, yes. And so I want to be able to engage in conversations with people that have different points of view. And I want to be able to listen.
You want to engage to people with different points of view and be able to listen.
Yes, rather than thinking about what I'm going to say in response to what they are saying, I actually want to listen.
Yeah, so instead of trying to think about what to say when they say something, you really just want to listen.
Yes, because I do believe, and I say this often, there's a difference between understanding and agreeing.
You always say it's a long old time saying that there's a difference between listening and saying.
Between understanding and agreeing.
Understanding and agreeing.
Yes. So I may not agree with you, but I do want to understand where you're coming from.
So you're saying that you might not agree with them, but you do want to understand where they're coming from.
Yes. So that's the reason I keep participating in these circles, so I can practice empathic listening.
That's why you continue to come to these circles, so you can continue to increase your empathic listening.
Yes. And I'm finding that it's even helping me in my social life because I do talk a lot and I am opinionated and I'm learning to be quiet.
It helps you in your social life because you usually talk a lot and you're learning to be a little bit more quieter.
Yes, because I tend to interject and, give my 2 cents. And I'm finding that when I shut up and listen, that 2 cents usually comes from somebody else.
So you find out that you're very opinionated and you always got something to say about your 2 cents in, but you come in to find out when you don't put your 2 cents in, somebody else has the 2 cents.
Yes. So, the words, they come out, but they come out of somebody else's mouth. And that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm not alone.
And the words that you might want to say come out of somebody else's mouth, and it makes you feel good because now realize that you're not alone.
Yes. And thank you, Gary. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. Okay.
Even though my 5 minutes wasn't up, I was
that's a long time, isn't it?
Yes.
I forgot to start the clock anyway. Okay. Is that Sarah? Would you be my active listener?
I'll try.
Okay, that's all you have to do. Sarah, I'm also a very advocate person about this active listening, this Empathy Circle. I truly believe that the more we listen, the better we are.
Yeah. So you feel that the more that you listen, the better person you can be.
Yes, and I think also that the more that I practice this with other people, it also spreads.
Yeah, absolutely. Through practice, it spreads and expands.
And knowing that the world is in a dire need of some type of help, and I think this help is part of that solution.
Yeah. So you feel that the world needs help, and this type of empathy can be a solution.
So I too try to make these circles as much as possible.
Yeah. So that's why you're here. You're here to or you try to be here as much as possible to continue that.
And one thing that I did find out when I got here is that it's hard to listen sometimes.
Yeah. So when you got here, you realize sometimes it's hard to listen.
But by coming to these circles and practicing the technique, the process starts to take over.
But through practice, you became a much better listener.
And the process takes over.
And the process takes over.
It's a very simple process.
Yeah. And it's simple.
And it also helps in your communication skills as far as now you do all the ums and thens, where you start hearing yourself at that and you start correcting it,
Yeah. So this made you a better communicator where you weren't using so many filler words.
Yes. And it's improved all the aspects of my life in personal, business, my profession, being at the paper. I'm not a reporter, but I have reporters that work for me.
Yeah. And the skills you've acquired here through Empathy Circles has branched out and improved all aspects of your life.
Yeah. And I enjoy the fact that now that it's helped my communication skills, it makes me a better foreman. In other words, I'm very, very passionate with the writers.
Yeah. And it's improved your work working with writers and has made you more passionate.
Yeah, because writers are real tricky to understand sometimes.
Sometimes it's a little hard to understand writers.
Yeah, because they're real sensitive, about their writing.
Yeah.
You know, they don't like to have their papers gutted up. You know, they rather for you to just point it out and let them finish the touches.
Yeah. So writers oftentimes don't like you butchering their work or changing their work. And so this has been a good way to do that, but effectively.
Yes, it's made me very effective when I read a story. I don't touch it. You know, I just let them know where I see areas that it could do the work. You could use some work in this area to make the story more fuller.
Yeah.
And
so you using kind of the skill set that you learned here, you aren't butchering their works. You're reading it and you're giving your thoughts.
and so that really helps a lot.
Yeah, and you find it to be really helpful.
And it also helps in civil engagements. When we're out in the community, mediating or talking again with the unhoused and the housed, we have a forum now that we can make this communication work where everybody's listening to each other.
Yeah, and you've had success out in the community, bringing different groups of people together to find a way for them to communicate.
Yes, and I'm starting to think that this is the path that we all should go down. Okay, that's time. You are now the speaker, and you
Okay.
pick active listener.
Farah, you'll be my active listener if you're okay with that.
Sounds good. Sure.
All right. So I have been on a bit of a wellness path, and I think empathy is really key to wellness.
You have been on a wellness path and you think that empathy is key to wellness.
And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a student in museum studies, and I think empathy is a really great way to allow guests and visitors to engage with something they're not already aware of.
Yeah, you mentioned that you are a student in museum studies, and empathy is a great way to allow guests and visitors to engage in.
Yeah. And I know that personally, I have a tendency to try to jump in too quickly and relate to people instead of sitting back and listening to what they're really saying.
Yeah, that you personally have a tendency to jump in too quickly rather than sitting back and listening to what they're really saying.
And so I see my reason for being here is kind of twofold. One, to examine empathy for a professional setting, but also for stopping that behavior in myself and giving myself the second to just listen.
Yeah, your reasons for being here are to examine empathy in professional setting and also for stopping that behavior in yourself by giving yourself a second to just listen.
I think that's about everything I wanted to say.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
Okay, Jeremy, will you be my listener?
I would love to.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. I'm really grateful to be here today with all of you. Thank you so much for being here to listen and to support one another.
I'm hearing that you're really grateful to be here today with all of us and for this opportunity to listen and support one another.
Thank you. I really resonate with Linda, you know, and how she mentioned that, you know, when she's among her friends, you know, she she tends to like to talk, and this has really helped her in terms of, you know, just staying back a little bit and listening before, you know, really diving into to have the conversations, to, you know, to just let the conversation be, and allow others to talk as well.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you really resonate with Linda about this kind of like social like behavior of kind of like jumping in and kind of like talking to people, but like instead you want to work on like just kind of like sitting back and reflecting and really listening to what others are saying.
Yes, and I really liked how Gary mentioned about, you know, bringing the community together, and he, you know, he specifically mentioned housed and unhoused communities, and bringing that community together through these empathy circles, and that just really resonated with me, because lately I've been thinking a lot about the community of people who are, you know, who are homeless, and how we can better support them.
Awesome. So I'm hearing that you really resonate with what Gary said about bringing the community together, specifically like homeless and like housed people, and like this opportunity to like really like, if I heard you correctly, like give those people like a voice. I don't know if I missed the last thing. I'm sorry.
That's perfect. Yeah, and I like Sarah. I also think that empathy is really key to wellness, and I really like the idea of empathy, you know, in a professional setting, because I do believe that there is a lot of work we can do there, and then additionally, working on ourselves.
Awesome. So I'm hearing that you really resonate with what Sarah said about empathy in a professional setting, and it's very key for like wellness, as well as just for kind of like working on ourselves and like understanding ourselves.
Yeah, and this is a very special practice, because I don't know of anywhere else where, you know, all the attention is focused on you for this period of time, and you're able to just speak and voice what's on your mind.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that you think this is a very special practice because it's a space where all the attention is completely on you and you can fully voice what's on your mind.
Yes, and I recall a time when I didn't feel like I had a lot of attention on me, and so I would repeat what I would say because I didn't think people were listening to me.
You can recall a time where you felt like you weren't being heard, and how you felt was that like people weren't really listening to you.
Exactly. Yep. And I think back to that time, and you know, especially with one of my roommates, I used to always just repeat back what I would say because I didn't think she was listening to me.
So you can recall this time where you would be speaking to like your roommates, and you would repeat back what you said because you didn't feel like fully heard, like she was listening to you.
Yeah, so I just really appreciate, you know, this special time when I'm able to just talk, and feel like, you know, people are actually listening to me.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that you're really grateful and appreciative of this special time where you can feel that people are hearing you and listening to you.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. I feel fully heard.
Awesome, of course. I guess I'll pick Edwin.
Listening.
How's it going, Edwin? Yeah, no, I kind of in the same way that Vera kind of resonated with all of you guys. I had very similar feelings.
You're having similar feelings as Vera.
Yeah, especially with regards to what Gary said about community. I'm really interested in, I've like spent a lot of time this summer kind of trying to understand my own kind of worldview and ethic, just the whole world that we live in, and what kind of world I want to see and like imagine and dream for the future. And I think that this kind of empathy circle like design is like completely aligned with like my views of like plurality and giving different people a voice, and like having them feel like they matter.
So what I'm hearing there is that you've been sort of evaluating your values and your vision for the world, and the empathy circles really lines up with what your vision is of just giving everyone a voice and sort of that plurality of voices and inclusion, I guess.
Yeah, I'm very climate focused. So like when I think from my generation and my demographic, we're in a very interesting stage where we're the last generation to really be able to do anything about this big crisis, but we're the first generation who's really going to experience it their whole lifetime. And so I'm just very curious about like different ways for us to like find power in our relationships. And I think this process is like amazing for that, for unlocking people's power and just capacity.
Yes, I'm hearing that the climate issues are really important to you, and that your generation it's an important generation for addressing that. And you're seeing how an empathy circle can unlock people's power for addressing those type of issues.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, I also am just super grateful to be in this meeting with all of you guys. The only person I know here is Edwin, who I've met with a couple times now. And so I love talking to strangers and just relating to other people, and just kind of even like seeing like the expressions on your faces and really like hearing like the tones of your voices and just how happy and how comfortable everyone feels and how like attuned with themselves and each other. Like that makes me feel the same way.
Yeah, so you're just really enjoying being here with new people. You know me, but just you really like being with new people and just really sensing who they are, seeing their expressions and the tone of their voice and their feelings. This just brings you a lot of sounds like pleasure, enjoyment.
It does. And I think that we spent a lot of time, at least I spent a lot of time studying the psychology and the communication of stuff like the climate crisis and why people don't work together more and why we do destructive things and so on. But I think that it's really nice for me to see theory put into practice. And like we talk about these best practices, but this is like a living experience of that. So I'm really grateful for that.
So I'm hearing a lot of gratitude that you're being able to sort of experience this, that you as a student, you're studying a lot of theory about how people communicate and so forth. And here you're actually being able to do it and putting it all into practice, and a real gratitude, hearing a real gratitude for that.
Yeah. And I think that taking a step back from like the more professional, like academic aspect, I think that from like a more vulnerable perspective, I would say that, you know, my older brother has Asperger's, and I've struggled a lot with kind of being really close with my siblings. My other brother has like just some like maturity, social issues, and I think they're great people, but we're not super close emotionally. And my family is not very nuclear. So it's nice to like have the chance to build those skills so I can work on those relationships and kind of take my power back in those settings.
So it sounds like your family is not very close, and there's different issues with different family members. And so I think I'm hearing some appreciation for learning these skills and processes that maybe you can take back to your family.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really curious about how this would affect my older brother who struggles with empathy, and if this is something that we could do as a family and possibly, you know, like really take our relationships to another level. That's like one of my biggest like dreams, I guess, or like goals in life, like forgetting all the professional successes, just like wanting to be a good brother and like a good son.
Yeah, so it's like setting aside all the professional issues and just how can you be a better brother and son and really connect more deeply with your family.
Yeah, thank you. I feel fully heard. Appreciate it.
Okay. Then I'll speak to Linda.
Yes, I'll listen.
I think that the empathy circle is really great for families. I've done a lot of empathy circles with my family. So I think that's like a core place that the empathy circle could be used.
You think you're saying that the empathy circle, you believe it's great for family. It's the core of bringing families together.
Yeah. And, you know, my family, they live in Sacramento. There's near Sacramento, and they're kind of conservative. Republican voters, I'm more on the left, it's those with these issues, political issues. And in fact, when I think about it now, I think that's one of the reasons that I really kind of had a strong sense, for the empathy circle, was that, I grew up when there was this generation gap in the 70s, right? And it was sort of painful. And this was a way of sort of bridging that generation gap, was to, having a way to really dialogue and connect with family members.
Yeah, so you're telling us about your family, and that they're conservative. You have different political views, and sometimes that can be a little bit of a strain. And so using the empathy circle can help
sort of bridge those divides, create connection,
bridge the gaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially that generation gap of the 60s, 70s, sort of, there's a big, and it's painful when the generations have that disconnection, and I think it's really mutual empathy that bridges that. It's like, everyone has a voice, everyone can be heard, and that's really how we sort of come together, is just hear each other and have some sort of a structure and way of holding that.
Yeah, not only political, but the generational divide, if you will, can cause some issues. And this empathy is a way to bridge that divide, and bring people together and be heard.
Yeah, and initially with my family, I had talked about empathy, and it's like, well, we're not interested, right, in empathy. So it's like, how do you bridge that and get people involved? And then once, this was like 6-7 years ago, there was a conflict between my mother and my sister-in-law. It was like, they were really going at each other. And I was able to step into it and empathically listen to each side, and, and then hear each side, and then get them to do empathic listening with each other. And then it turned into a whole family empathy circle. And it got resolved. The conflict got resolved. And I said, hey, this is empathy. And they said, hey, this is pretty good. We'll do more of this. We're willing to do more of this. So that was sort of like a breakthrough in my family.
Initially, your family, when you tried to bring empathy circles to the family, they resisted. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, they got to experience empathy circles when your mother-in-law and sister, two family people were having conflict.
Yeah.
To the point that you had to step in and you practiced that empathic listening with them, and then showed them how to do it. And then that brought the rest of the family in when they saw you modeling that behavior.
Yeah, and I have thought maybe we could do like a series of empathy cafes on how do we bring empathy circles and empathy into our families. But I think there's I was really glad to hear Jeremy talk about that, because I think that's a lot of people, want that practical support. How do we just create a more caring and loving family environment? And I think the empathy circles can really help with that.
Okay, you've been thinking about how to having workshops or training on how to get families involved in the empathy and bring them into empathy circles. And you were impressed by what Jeremy was saying, and you think it's important that families have a way of connecting.
I feel fully heard. Thanks, Linda.
Okay, great. All right, I want to talk to Sarah.
Okay.
Sarah, what Jeremy said about family, and then Edwin piggybacking on it, resonated with me because of my family situation.
So what Jeremy said about family really resonated with you because of your own personal family situation.
Yes. All of us are in our 60s and it's 4 of us siblings, and we're splintered, and I wish we could come together. But honestly, I think it would take a miracle.
I'm hearing that you and your siblings are splintered, and that it feels like to bring you together would be a miracle.
Yes. So but I haven't given up on that yet.
But even still, you haven't given up.
No. What I want to speak about now is voting and intelligent voting.
You're telling us that you want to talk about intelligent voting.
Yes. I'm here in Texas, and we just had our election or whatever, and there were no people running in my area. It was 8 propositions on the ballot.
All right, so I'm hearing that you're in Texas and that there's 8 propositions on the ballot and that there was no one running in your area.
Correct. And I went in and I researched or read what the propositions were and what they meant, and why they were originating, why they were on the ballot before I went to vote. And I'm glad I did.
So I'm hearing that prior to voting, you did your research and you're really glad that you did.
Yes, because when I went to the ballot box, what the propositions were there, and the research told you how it was going to be worded on the ballot. And if you didn't know if you hadn't done your background research, you wouldn't have known what you were voting for or against.
Yeah, so you found that that it was really great that you did the background research, because when you were there, it was very hard to figure out what was what.
Yeah, because it's the way they word the propositions on the ballot. One of them was actually a double negative. So you had to think about, if you voted yes, is that no, I don't want this, or if you voted no, it's yes, I do want that.
Yeah, you found the language on the ballot to be really confusing, using double negatives, and it was really hard to kind of translate it to figure out what it actually was trying to say.
Yes, and I actually had a friend that I recommended to her. I said, because I'm pushing people to vote, and I text her and I said, be sure to research the propositions before you vote. And after she voted, she texted me back and said, thank you for telling me to do the research.
Yeah, so you told a friend to do the research because it was very confusing, and it sounds like your friend really appreciated that advice.
Yes, because I think whoever puts the language on the ballot, sometimes I think it's intentional. And so that's the reason I call it intelligent voting. You need to do some research before you actually go to the ballot box.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're saying that you think sometimes the language is specifically vague or hard to understand on purpose. And because of that, it's really important that we go into voting intelligently by doing the research first.
Yes, I actually was looking at MSNBC, and they were interviewing, they had a reporter out interviewing people in Virginia the day before their election. And I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was amazed at the people that didn't know what critical race theory was, but they knew they were against it.
So you were watching MSNBC and they were out interviewing people, and you thought it was interesting that there were some people interviewed who were very against critical race theory, but actually had no idea what it was.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Now it's your turn, Sarah, to be the speaker again.
Okay, I guess I'll go back to Farah.
I would love to listen to you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think I'm going to kind of go back to the idea of bringing empathy circles into family dynamics. My family dynamics for me are pretty good. I'm a middle child between two brothers, and I've always had a really good relationship with both of them.
All right. You want to go back to the idea of bringing empathy circles into family dynamics, and your family dynamics are good. You are the middle child between two brothers, and you've always had a good relationship with them.
My relationship with my father has also been traditionally pretty good. My relationship with my mother, less so, and the relationship of my brothers to one another has been difficult at times.
Your relationship with your father has traditionally been good. With your mother, less so. And with your brothers, it sounds like they've had difficulties with each other.
Yeah, so I'm interested in bringing this practice into family dynamics. I think it'll be, like Edwin said, maybe I imagine that maybe some of my family members won't be super keen on it initially, but I'm interested to see how that would play out and whether or not setting aside time to fully listen would help kind of bridge some of those gaps in understanding that I see.
Yeah, you're interested in bringing this practice into family dynamics, and you think your family won't be super keen on it initially, but you would be interested in seeing how it would play out, and having that, empathy practice of fully listening could really bridge the gaps.
Yeah, and I think maybe a part of why I think there might be a desire not to do this is sometimes I think people don't want to feel empathetic. I think they want to feel righteous in their point of view. And so I wonder when it is best to approach something like this.
Yeah, you think that maybe a part of why you think there might be desire not to do this is because you think that people don't necessarily want to feel empathetic, and they want to feel righteous in their own point of view, and you're wondering, what would be the best approach to this.
And I don't know if there is like a straight answer. I don't know if there's one size fits all. So I think it's going to probably take me kind of broaching this with different family members independently. Maybe when there's a big argument, I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I'm excited to take this practice out into the real world, and not that this is not the real world, but out into my personal life, and see where it takes me.
All right. Okay, so you're not sure if there is a straight answer or a one-size-fits-all approach to this. You think it will probably take you broaching this with family members independently, and possibly, maybe when there's a big argument happening and you're excited to take this into your real world, your personal life, and then see where it takes you.
Yeah, thank you. I feel fully heard.
All right, thank you, Sarah. All right, I guess I'll take it back to Jeremy once again.
Here.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. All right. Okay, so back to what you were saying earlier, you mentioned, very similar feelings of resonating, like I had talked about with everybody, I similarly, I still feel like everything that everyone is saying totally resonates with how I'm feeling.
Because I'm hearing that, going back to what I and other people said before, about resonating with you, you are also kind of feeling like, in general, what everybody is saying, you are kind of resonating or like relating to.
Yeah, I loved what you said about climate change and, the, coming off of the climate conference and what's happening there. I mean, I think there's a lot of focus on that right now. And I do believe that, understanding, having better empathy, relating to one another can really help us understand the issues better by having everybody just, be able to voice their perspectives.
Awesome. So I'm hearing that you really loved what I said about climate change and kind of thinking about the timing with the current climate conference, and there being a lot of focus on that right now. You feel like this like ability to like empathize and relate to other people is really important for kind of helping us solve these problems.
Awesome. Yeah, and I like you mentioned, I also love talking to strangers and relating to other people. I gosh, I also back to what everyone's Edwin, you and Sarah are talking about in terms of bringing into your families. I'm also thinking about that now too, and thinking how great it would be to teach empathy to my kids.
Awesome. So I'm hearing that you feel like it's really nice basically that we can relate to like other strangers, and you really also love that. And you're also the same way that Edwin, Sarah, and I have spoken about this a bit. You are very curious about how you can bring empathy circles into your family life.
Absolutely. And I really I think that as humans, I mean, we all need to connect with others, and I've been doing a lot of reading lately on how important it is, and how important it is to have that connection with others. And depression is actually caused by loss of connection. There's actually a book on this. I think it's called Lost Connections.
Fascinating. So you are very, very interested in how important it is to connect with others. And you've been doing some research, reading this book called Lost Connections, I believe, where you have learned about how depression is related to like losing connections with other people.
Yep, absolutely. And I really do believe that empathy is closely related to connecting with others. And we talk about this idea of forming closer connections, for closer bonds. And I think that empathy helps you to feel more connected with others because you feel like they're listening and they care about you.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you feel like empathy is really important for connecting with others and really developing closer bonds because we're able to fully hear each other out and really like listen and understand each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I feel fully heard.
Of course, of course. I'll pick Gary if you're cool with that, my man.
I'm cool with it. Let's go.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that I probably do this a lot in my life, but it's good to have positive affirmations. So I completely, again, like resonate with you, Vera. I think that it's crazy how you can put a bunch of random people in a room or a Zoom breakout room and you find so many like connections. Like it's just beautiful to see the connections between people.
So I hear you saying that you like using positive affirmations and you like the idea of what's going on because it resonates with you, that you have so much connection with complete strangers. Is that what I was hearing you say?
Yeah, and I think that I've always really been inspired by my mom. She's a fair housing attorney and had a super privileged like lifestyle growing up, but works with a lot of like disabled people and minority groups who are getting discriminated against by like their landlords in Los Angeles. And just her like care for other people, like I've always loved like how much capacity we have to love other people. I'll pause there.
So you amazed with your mother's work because you were privileged growing up, and that you seen a lot of disabled and injustice in LA, and you love seeing your mother in action, helping these people and showing them love the way she does, and it makes you want to love the same way, to be there for people. And so I guess you say the Empathy Circle is one way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like this kind of puts us all into like proximity with each other, you know, and it's really easy to see the truth when you're close to other people and you're being real with each other. And I just care, like just hearing about like all of your guys' different experiences. Like I care like about, like I feel like that empathy, like literally I can tell that I care about how you guys are doing and your well-being and how this could benefit your lives. And I've never met you before. So I just think that is like a priceless experience, you know?
So yeah, you actually connecting, you're feeling our experiences, and that connection is something that you have not felt in a long time, and you really are grateful for this, and you have a lot of gratitude.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that for me, I don't know how much you guys know about the culture of UC Berkeley, but as a student, like the reason I even got interested in empathy circles was kind of related to this very competitive and performative culture that we have in our campus. And, you know, people do a lot of great work here for the world, but it's sometimes really unhealthy, especially from a mental health perspective. And we don't have this culture of care and concern and empathy. It's very cutthroat, and you can find your people, but it's not this big community of like this. Like this culture isn't something that you would find on my campus.
Yeah, so you saying you don't know how many of us actually understand the culture of UC Berkeley. It's like cutthroat, and there's not really no empathy going on there. But you find you a few niche that you can hang out with. But most of all, it just really cutthroat, and UC Berkeley could use the help.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that the students, you know, the students for their well-being, yeah, it could really help everyone. And also, like I said, I feel like people do a lot of great work, but if we're all doing our own work on our own and we're not really connecting with other people, then we're not doing as great of work as we could be doing. I think we could be more effective and organize more efficient, like organize better, you know? And I think that this kind of emotions, for me at least, seem to be at the fabric of like social organization and like social movements. And it's really nice to not do anything except just sit back and reflect and listen. I think that's a great starting point, you know, instead of just doing stuff all the time.
Yeah, so you're saying that the actions that are going on at UC Berkeley is great work, but it could be better work if they took the time to listen to one another so they could collaborate on what they're doing. And just sitting back and reflecting is a good thing. And that's what you would like to see more of.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it's not something that is championed in our society, this kind of like that's driven by like movements of capital and so on. But I think that I want to cultivate slow wisdom, you know, and patience. And I think that, again, I'm just grateful to be here with you guys.
Yeah, you think that, you know, that if I heard you correctly, because the bell went off, that if they really got into this Empathy Circle at UC Berkeley, it would make the campus a better place.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Do you feel fully heard?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Edward, how you doing?
Listening.
Oh, great. Man, there's been a lot of good stuff said, especially the family thing. And I truly believe the family is the core to our civilization, and it should be, maybe we should practice this in our homes first.
You're just finding a lot of really great stuff's been said, and especially the part about the family, and you're seeing, yeah, maybe we should be practicing this in the home, in the family.
Yeah, because the family is the cornerstone to our society, and it's been breaking up very badly in these last coming years, where the mothers and daughters are at each other's throats, fathers and sons the same way, and sisters and brothers. There's no unity in the family.
So you're seeing a lack of unity in the family. Family members are sort of at each other's throats in conflict, and the empathy circles, or empathy, could be a way of bringing people together.
Yeah, restructuring the family, because when society first started out, it started out building our society, it was very empathetic. That was the culture. And where it went to, I don't know.
So you feel that when society first got started, the family was really the core, and there was a lot of empathy, but you don't know how it kind of fell apart like it has.
Oh, is it me?
You there? Or maybe you're breaking up?
Can you still hear me, Edward?
I hear you. Do you hear me? I hear you, Gary. Looks like your video froze, or is still hearing us, Gary? Maybe give it a second. Okay, well, maybe I'll become the speaker, and if maybe Gary needs to reboot or something. Yeah, he'll probably come back. Keep an eye out for him coming back. So yeah, I'll speak to yes, Sarah.
I'm listening.
Yeah, I thought I'd talk about the empathy in the family and some ideas about that. And the first idea is, or point is, not to wait for a conflict to happen and then say, hey, let's have an empathy circle to resolve it. It's like, hey, let's have an empathy circle and everybody talk about something positive that's been happening in your life. So you talk about a positive thing, you sort of develop practice and trust in the practice.
All right, so I'm hearing that you want to talk about empathy circles in the family, and that you highly recommend not waiting for conflict to arise, but to first broach the subject through a positive lens, like asking a question like, what's something that's positive that's happening in your life right now?
Yeah, and the other thing is I've done empathy circles with my nephews and nieces, and I have my brother and sister-in-law. They have 4 kids, and they fight a lot. I mean, it's like, you know, domination. it's like big time wrestling there in their family, and it's the kids, just the older ones beat up on the littler ones. And when I go there, if there's a conflict, I say, let's have an empathy circle. And I actually do empathy circles with the kid. They're like 5 and 6 year olds, at least at that point, and they get it. They were able to do it.
So I'm hearing that you've had a lot of success with empathy circles with the kiddos in your family, and that they've been really able to understand how to do it and to engage with it in a meaningful way.
Yeah, sometimes they're so hyperactive, it's kind of hard to get them to sort of slow down a little bit, you know. But I think if they had been learning this on an ongoing basis and watching their parents do it, or have done empathy circles around the kitchen table, they would have you'd be integrating that into the family dynamics.
Got it. So it sounds like they're kids, so they got a lot of energy, and that it would, you think it would be beneficial for them to practice this more regularly, so that they can kind of slow down a little bit and really engage.
So just one story is my 5-year-old niece, Annie, and my 6-year-old nephew, Gilbert. So they were having a fight, And I said, okay, let's do a little empathy circle. And I did empathic listening, listened to Gilbert, reflected back, listened to Annie, reflected back, did that. And then I got them to do it with each other and kind of talk about the conflict, which I forgot what it was. But at the end, they kind of heard each other and they kind of worked it out. And then Annie says, I like empathy circles. Let's do it again. So she just enjoyed, hey, I don't get beat up by my bigger brothers. I get to kind of talk about this. And she was really enjoying it.
So I'm hearing that you've had a very successful example of Empathy Circle with your niece and nephew, where you set up the circle and you listened and kind of reflected back to each of them, and then you had them talk to each other, listen and reflect back. And that it sounds like particularly your niece really appreciated it, because it sounds like maybe she's beaten up upon, usually is the dynamic, and she really felt heard in this instance.
Right. So what we need is Sesame Street to have the animals do an empathy circle with each other, and it would spread, all over the country. All these kids would be learning how to do an empathy circle. So, yeah.
I love that idea. You think it would be beneficial for Sesame Street to model this type of behavior, so that then children everywhere would pick up on it.
Yeah. And I just want to let Gary know that we've moved on. So I'm speaking to you, and we'll come back around to Gary at some point. So just wanted to explain that. So if you want to reflect that, Sarah.
Yeah. Gary, we moved along, but we'll get back to you at some point.
Yeah. And I feel fully heard, and I'm also keeping time now. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, I would love to talk to Linda.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. So I think I want to, well, first thank Edwin for his thoughts on how to broach this topic with my family. And I think it definitely makes sense to have those conversations prior to conflict.
Okay, you thanking Edwin for suggesting that you have these empathy circles, or approach these empathy circles with the family before there's conflict.
Yeah, and I hope that in doing so, we can have kind of meaningful conversations.
And you're hoping by doing so, this will result in meaningful conversations.
Yeah. And while I was listening to Jeremy speak, I really, again, that idea of resonating with what other people here are saying, I really felt what he was feeling, which is kind of that emotional connection to all of you who were all, prior to an hour ago, complete strangers. And I really appreciate that this method of speaking and listening fosters that.
And you are agreeing with, or piggybacking on what Jeremy said about the feeling that you are experiencing as you participate in this empathy circle. It makes you feel good that people listen to you.
Yeah, and that I think also part of it is just that we all experience similar things. And for me, coming from the museum field, that's really what I find to be most intriguing about museums, is the ability to flatten our world and draw connections amongst others. And I think this is just another great way to do that.
Okay, you're finding, or you're confirming that we're all the same. We all have the same issues or whatever. And with your background and you're focused on museums, that you see empathy as a way of just flattening that area of life and bringing people together, connecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also wanted to say that I also feel for Jeremy in being on a campus currently and feeling at times like empathy is lacking in that I'm on the UW campus, and I think it's less cutthroat than Cal is, but there's still kind of this lack of really listening to one another and just doing their own thing.
Yeah, you're able to relate to what Jeremy was saying about the competition and the competition that exists at the Berkeley campus. And your campus, it may not be as competitive as his, but you still have that the feeling that nobody's really listening to anybody else. They're just doing their thing.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to set aside time to really engage in listening and truly hearing other people. And I wish that something like this was like mandatory undergraduate or graduate degree credits. I think that would be amazing.
Okay, you wish this was a mandatory class that college students would have to take. I forgot the first part, but yeah, you really believe that this would be helpful.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry.
that was it.
That was it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I feel fully heard.
Okay. Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna speak on or speak to Vera. Have I spoken to you?
Not yet. No.
Okay. You know, I back on the family topic, which Jeremy has started, and it seems like he struck a match with all of it. And I've heard the conversations, and I think it's 4 siblings. I think 3 of us could get together and do an empathy circle.
Okay, so you want to go back to the family topic that Jeremy started, and it seems like he really struck a match on this. You've heard the conversations, and you think that in your family, you have 4 siblings, and you really think that 3 of you can get this started.
Yes, yes. And in terms of the emotions that come from, I'm changing the subject now, the emotions that come from these empathy circles, I want to speak on that.
Okay, you want to speak on the emotions that come from these empathy circles.
Yes. I think it was Sarah just said that people, you know, we as people need to take time, and that means actually set time aside to stop and listen and be empathetic with people.
Okay, you said, Sarah said that we as people need to take time and really set aside that time to listen and be empathetic with other people.
Yes, because it's a way of making the speaker feel validated as a person with something to say.
Yeah, you said that it's a way of making the speaker feel validated as a person with something to say.
Yes. And I think also for the listener, when you intentionally listen, you connect with the person even though you don't know them personally.
Yeah, for the listener, when you intentionally listen, you connect with the other person, even when you don't know them personally?
Yes. So I've heard people say, I feel relaxed, gratitude, a lot of positive feelings come from this experience. And I have to say that each time I participate in a circle, it's different people, but that same calming feeling comes over me.
Yeah. Let's see. You've heard people say that they feel relaxed and feel a lot of gratitude and just generally a lot of positive feelings from this experience. And each time you do these empathy circles, there are different people involved, but you feel the same type of feelings.
So when we engage in speaking and listening, um, it's a win-win.
Okay, you said when we engage in speaking and listening, it's a win-win.
Yes. And thank you. I feel heard to my satisfaction, fully heard. Yes. Thank you, Vera.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Gary, are you back?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure. But yeah, would you like to listen?
Sure.
Okay, thank
I
you.
love to listen.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I want to go back to the subject that Jeremy and Sarah brought up since they're both in school. School was many years ago for me. I graduated from undergrad about, 20 years ago now.
So you want to go back to what they were talking about earlier about schooling, and that it's been a long time since you've been in school because you did your undergrad 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm very interested in hearing about this idea of like competitiveness in college. And I went to UCLA for my undergrad, and I mean, I would say a lot of my friends, they were like top of their class, valedictorian of their high school, and just all around really. I mean, they were very smart and competitive people in high school, but when they got to college, I didn't feel like we were competitive with each other. So I'm just curious. I'd love to hear more about uh, how it is these days, and I think I wonder if it's like a generational difference.
So you are wanting to know more about the competitiveness of being in school, because when you were in school at UCLA, that they were at the top of their class when they were in high school, and you didn't see the competitive in your schooling time. And so you want to really hear more about this competitiveness and see if it's a generational thing.
Very good. Yes. Some of my friends, for example, you know, I would take classes with them, and one of my friends in particular, this is very interesting. She ended up going to medical school, but we took a class together, and when we studied together, what she did was she actually sat there and taught me the content. So, she was really trying to help me out. But at the same time, she was telling me that by teaching me, it really helped her learn it better.
So one of your friends, a close friend, when y'all was in school, y'all studied together, and she would basically teach you the contents. And the reason why she said she done this because it helped her remember, or it helped her in her studying skills, and it also helped you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just very interested in hearing more about the school environment now and how things are. I do believe that empathy circles, can help in any environment, but especially in environments where people really need to come together as humans and care for one another and connect with each other.
Yeah, you just really want to know more about what schools are doing now, because you could see the empathy circle really being a good thing there. If it's so competitive, that it will bring people together that when they need to be together, where they need to be together at. It's great.
Exactly. So yeah, I just find that very interesting. Okay, well that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. I feel fully heard.
And thank you. Edward, how much time we have?
Oh, I was just going to mention that we have 4 minutes, so maybe you might want to lead us in a little bit of just debrief, just call on people. Or
yeah, we can. Linda, you want to start off the debrief?
Well, just like I said, I've been in several of these circles, and it's always a good experience. It's just good connecting with people, especially now with COVID. And I live alone. I have a small circle of friends. And so it's just good to be able to meet different people. So this is good.
Thank you. I can't see the screen, so Sarah, would you like to debrief?
I just 100% agree with what Linda just said. I think this was my first ever empathy circle, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into before this, but it's been such a great experience, and it's been just really great getting to talk to you all, feeling heard and feeling like I'm really truly listening. So thank you.
Jeremy, is that the name, Jeremy?
Thank you. Yeah, I completely agree with you guys. I'm looking forward to doing more empathy circles and getting more people involved. That should be very exciting. And one thing that I've just like reflected on a lot today has just been like how humbling of an experience it is sometimes to just set aside, like, we all have an ego, whether we want to like admit it or not, whether we're the best people on earth or not, like setting aside that ego for a moment and just like fully like being like there for other people, like
Yes.
that's we need to make that more normal, you know.
Yes.
So happy about it.
Okay. Next would be, I can't see your names, the young
Vera.
lady I was just talking to.
Vera.
There, yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry
no,
about that.
I totally agree. I mean, with what was just said, I completely agree. I mean, I love this practice, and this is my 4th empathy circle, I think. And I'm loving it. I mean, I just I'll be back. Yep. And I'm hoping to do the facilitation course as well.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I guess I'll debrief. I really have enjoyed this circle, and I was just getting into sharing some stuff that I felt from getting it from the rest of you guys. And of course, my laptop died. So, but outside of that, I feel heard. I feel full. With that, I pass it off to Edward.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Yeah, I love empathy circles. It's like every time it's always, I mean, these are fairly, everybody's a good listener here, and it feels really good. It can be conflict. Try doing this in a family conflict, and it's like the sparks are flying, but the basic structure kind of holds, you know, can hold the conflict. So yeah, I really enjoy it, and we're going to do a little bit of a debrief too. You'll get at the end. I'm going to hit the closing button actually right now. Start closing the rooms. So I'm closing the rooms, and the others will come back, and so we'll have about 20 seconds to debrief. But yeah, very grateful for everyone taking part. And Sarah, were you coming from the Design for Empathy group? Was that how you heard about it? Oh,
yeah,
great.
yeah. I got an email from that summit. I joined like 2 of the different workshops and saw this through them.
Oh, great. Yeah, that was a 3-day conference on empathy in museums. So I was just wondering if that's how you came across it. Yeah, oh, great. So everyone will be coming in about 17 seconds. The room will be closing. And so thanks for the facilitation, Gary. So glad that
this was good.
Able to facilitate. And that's part of the training. So in the training, you're learning how to facilitate, and you can come into these cafes and you can practice facilitation too. So it's all part of the training. Okay, welcome back everyone. And Larry, you're gonna lead the debrief.
So welcome back, everyone. And now we'd like to take around 30 seconds for each person to share what this experience is like for you, being in an empathy circle. If you can share, it's just about 30 seconds. And if the facilitators would raise their hand, that would help me. I'm an old man, so I need a little bit of help. If the facilitators would raise their hands, then that will bring them to the top of the screen, not for them to take a bow, but for me to go through the participants and just share what the experience felt like, anything that, any realizations, what it felt like. I'll start with Jeremy. You're the first in the screen here, so would you share?
Of course, thank you. Yeah, I think that overall it was just beautiful to come together with a bunch of people from a bunch of different places in the US and different, careers and perspectives, and to really just relate with each other and really just develop that feeling of empathy, that true feeling of care and concern for them, and to kind of like put myself aside and just really be there for them was really gratifying for me.
Thank you, Jeremy. And Vera, would you share, please?
Yeah, I totally agree with Jeremy. I also felt the same way, and I mean, it's just so beautiful. We came as strangers, and now we're leaving as connected souls, and I feel like we've really bonded over the experience. There's a lot of connection in being empathetic and listening to one another. So I really love the experience, and I'm very grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. And Sarah, would you share, please?
Yeah, I don't think that I can really say it better than Jeremy or Vera have said. But this experience was really eye-opening in a lot of ways, just like how powerful this process can be and how quickly doing it, I was able to feel a very real connection with everyone in the circle.
Thank you, Sarah. And Laura, would you share, please?
There we go. Sorry. Yeah, I echo what Jeremy and Vera and Sarah have been saying, and add how fulfilling it is to be able to stay mindful about what's going on in the group, but yet be triggered by what's going on in the group. And then use that for my own personal growth.
Thank you, Laura. And Chidrangda, would you share, please?
Yes, I think it was beautiful. I felt really nice sharing my story. I feel way lighter than I was 2 hours ago. And everyone was listening to me. Like the fact that they actually rephrase your statements and give it back to you, it's like you're hearing yourself out. So it was really nice.
Thank you, Chidrangda. And Edwin, can we go through the facilitators?
Yep, we got time.
All right. Linda, would you share, please?
Yes, as I said in our circle, I've been in several of these, and I always, this feeling of connection and relaxation always comes over me. I have noticed in the circles, though, this is not the first time that someone will say something, pick a topic or speak on a topic, and then it just resonates with the group, and then the group starts talking about that topic, and I always find that to be, it's a sign that we're connecting, that we're all human, and we all have the same experiences. We can relate, so it's good.
Thank you, Linda. And Bill, would you share, please?
Yeah, I'm really, I'm very appreciative about everybody who comes and tries this, because this is the sort of thing that we're going to need to do in order to really face the challenges that are facing our species. And it's going to have to start with us cooperating and feeling that we're community. And so I'm really appreciative, and I just was very touched by everything I heard today. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. And Gary, would you share, please?
Yeah, I found this circle to be one of the better ones that I've been in. It made me feel what I needed to feel about the family, and I love that coming in, that we need to work closer with the family, and that's where I'm at.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank you, Gary. And Dwayne, would you share, please?
Yes, thank you. This was my first experience facilitating a small group with the Empathy Cafes, and I enjoyed the experience. As heart was beating fast at first, but once I settled down, I began to relax. I really enjoy this process. It's amazing how very different people can come together, and for a few moments, we can, if our heart's in the right place, we can connect with each other, and we can have this amazing experience. And I had a really amazing, enjoyable experience, seeing how human we all are and how we all connect. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. And again, thank you, Edwin, for creating this opportunity for us to connect.
Thank you, Dwayne. And wow, it's like, everything everyone said is exactly what I experienced. It's just amazing that this relatively simple process in a relatively short amount of time brings people who don't know each other, never saw each other in their whole lives, from all over the planet together, and open their hearts in a safe environment and realize we're all the same. It's amazing, really amazing. So that's my experience. And now I'll turn it over to Edwin with great gratitude, and thank you for creating this empathy circle. Thank you, Edwin.
Thanks,
and happy
Therese.
birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh yeah, yay, birthday today, 66. Thanks. Yeah, so for me, it's always doing these circles. I just it reinforces sort of that trust in our common humanity. It's like we do these circles with people from all over the world. There's that sense of connection and mutual understanding. It's just like, oh, there's this common humanity that we have, and that if we just listen to each other, that we can connect to that. And there's plenty of conflict in the world, and if we can just listen to each other, I think that's how we overcome it. I do feel some frustration in that I want to scale it up. It's like, why couldn't we get Joe Biden and Donald Trump to do an empathy circle instead of a debate? How come we can't get the politicians to or how do we do that? So I just kind of keep sort of pushing to sort of to expand this. So I'm going to, talking about expand, I'm going to put into the chat, the first link is actually in 4 hours, we have another Empathy Cafe that you can take part of. It's a part of the Berkeley community, UC Berkeley and the Berkeley, they're doing a healing circle. And it's going to be 2 hours. There's going to be some entertainment there. We're going to do a short empathy circle, about an hour. And so I welcome you all to come, and especially the facilitators, if you're ready to kind of help facilitate. I think we have something, yesterday we had 70 people signed up. So there could be even more today. You never know how many are going to show up. But it's the Berkeley community, and so you can click on that and you register, and then you'll get a Zoom room for that. So you're all welcome to come and join that. And then there is a link there. If you scroll down to cohort 12D, that's the next cohort that actually is now full, but we can take, I think, go over a little bit, take a few more people into that. I think we have about 30 signed up at the present. So we'll go over a little bit. So there's the link there, and there's an application. You can click on that application, and that starts November 20th. So next week, next Monday, we'll have another intro cafe like today. And then next Saturday, we'll have one more intro. And then we'll be starting in this time slot, the cohort 12D 5-week training. And then we'll be having these intro cafes every Monday until January 3rd. So that's about, month and a half, 2 months, we'll be holding them then. And then finally, if that last link, and I'm going to put that in there again, is the feedback form. So if you could take a second to just click on that link right now, if you're able to do that, and you'll see a Google form, and it's just for feedback. If you put your email in there and your name, and there's some questions there, it's a way to stay in contact with us. We can add you to our email list for the facilitators and everyone that's interested in the Empathy Circle. I think we have about 400 people on that list, and you'll get updates about from that list. So if you would just take and after we close, you can finish filling that out. And so I think that's it. We do have on Thursdays, there's an Empathy Cafe that Bill holds for education, empathy and education. Do you want to say anything about that, Bill?
Yes, but not the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, and that's about breaking down the Empathy Circle practice so you can fit it into and introduce it in steps in a school curriculum. I will put my information there in the chat. And if you're interested, you can also email me. Okay.
Okay, and we'd like to end with our jazz hands, just a group portrait. We kind of post that on the website, and so we'll see you next time. And if the facilitators would stay back for a few minutes, I will just do a quick debrief on how it went. So bye for now.
Goodbye. Thank you. Happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Bye, Laura.
Happy birthday.
Bye, Sarah.
You guys,
Sarah.
have a good one.
Jeremy.
Bye.